Hello everyone, my name is Antonia Villa and this is my presentation for Module 8 Case Study for Class EDL 951. Our case study consists of a school, State City Dependent School District, SCSD. It is located in a rural area 25 miles away from a large city, has 2 grocery stores, a drugstore, and a few businesses. Sounds like my hometown. That school district serves grades K through 8th, and the student population is 420 students, 2 teachers per grade level, 1 special education teacher for K through 4th, and 1 for 5th through 8th. High school students are transported over to a high school in the city. School finances. The annual budget provides for basic materials for teachers with a small extra amount dedicated to purchasing computers or new software. They have 2 major fundraisers. One is sponsored by the school. It's the Candy and Gift Wrap. The other one is sponsored by the PTA, and it is a spring fling where students ask their parents and relatives to sponsor them in a spring fling race and participate in the PTA-sponsored spring fling activities. The superintendent is Mr. Keith Sample. He is the superintendent as well as the principal. Since it's a small school, he takes on 2 roles. He's been in the district for 3 years. He has established positive relationships with resistant teachers, and long-term residents. He has more supporters than resistors. His main goal is to influence all to support his new vision and mission statement to become a more innovative and technology-based school district. For the past 3 years, the PTA and faculty have agreed to use available funds from fundraisers to purchase new computers. With this, they have been able to purchase 20 computers, and they have housed them in the school district's computer lab. Their new PTA goal is to purchase new software for the next 2 years. I'll introduce you to Mrs. Lynn. She is our part-time librarian, part-time computer lab assistant. Her primary responsibilities are to manage the computer lab and manage the checking in and out of the library books. I didn't find anywhere where she had any training provided for either of the positions. She did an excellent job of compiling software computer programs that the teachers requested. After working with teachers, she met with Mr. Sample. Then everything was agreed upon, and she ordered new software programs for the use of in the computer lab. And then to top it off, she developed a schedule where every teacher had a scheduled time to use the computer lab. The job description of a school library media specialist, as one of the articles stated, is that she has a responsibility to make school administrators, teachers, and staff aware of law and its implications. Right there, of all laws that have to do with the library media. What has happened here? Immediately I will tell you there's been a copyright violation that has taken place. How do I know that? Well, 4 months after the newly purchased software program was installed in the computer program, veteran teachers, approached Mrs. Lynn to copy the newly purchased software programs to install in the classroom computers. She went along with that, and she ordered several flash drives and made multiple copies of the computer programs selected by the teachers. I will share with you through our articles that I've read. There is a major violation here, and I have 2 different articles that cited exactly. Honestly, it's at the moment you make that first copy, it's a violation. So immediately it worries me because it was an idea that was brought to her by a veteran teacher. And I'll continue with what has happened. Mrs. Williams, experienced teacher, always worked at CSD. She was delighted that Mrs. Lynn made copies of the computer programs and made them available to all teachers. Mrs. Brandon, she's a new teacher. She does have 3 years experience at another school district. She thanked Mrs. Lynn, but was concerned about the copyright violations. She shared with Mrs. Lynn that the teachers were not allowed to make multiple copies of commercial computer programs in her former school. Mrs. Lynn was disgruntled with Mrs. Brandon's concern. I honestly feel like she had no idea she was doing wrong. As I read through our articles, the one that caught my attention is the one through Albuquerque Public School. It says, the person in the policy refers to teachers, students, and other personnel. So right now I can tell you immediately, everyone has broken the copyright law. Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Brandon, Mrs. Lynn, even other members that I'll talk to you about here in a little bit. Okay, who is involved? Mrs. Lynn, Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Brandon, other teachers that also encouraged her and went ahead and took the copies, and Mr. Sample, because now he's fully aware of it, and the PTA president, Mrs. Evans. When I reread the study case, it did say Mrs. Lynn did admit that she was unaware that she was violating any copyright issues. Immediately, I see the need. That need has existed for a long time, because if veteran teachers are suggesting this to a new employee, then that means they're really not understanding the copyright law like they should. I would provide appropriate training because it was not provided for support staff or the librarian. It does not state that the teachers received any type of copyright training. So I reread it and never found anything like that. What hasn't happened? Mrs. Lynn was employed as a part-time librarian and part-time computer lab manager paraprofessional, but again, no training on copyright law was provided to her. It was shared with Miss Lynn the severity of the matter. Mrs. Lynn's confession to not being aware of the copyright issue could fall under an innocent infringement defense, because honestly, she was not aware. Again, I will stress appropriate training was not provided for the librarian, and nowhere does it state that the teachers received any type of copyright training. I am stressing that because even here in Elkhart, we tend to forget, the copyright training, but I can tell you with all our signs that we have everywhere, they are reminded. I will bring to your attention that the pandemic brought bad habits to the forefront in 2020, with the United States leading the charge. As a Parks Associates study reports, more than 14.1 million U.S. homes routinely visited privacy sites. So honestly, it's one of those things where when COVID hit, everything went crazy, but we've got to get back on board. We've got to rebuild the expectations now. We need to be following the law, and we need to represent ourselves with integrity, and we just need to be very aware of that when we hire someone, just because we know them, just because they live within our district, community forever, that doesn't mean they know exactly what entails in the role they take in our school district. I went through the articles and I did find some resources to use if I want to provide training, and it was very, very useful. It varies anywhere from music, copyright, from even internet, just copying information from there. Again, I did find this in the article. Something I'd never really paid attention to was the phrase fair use. That was interesting to me. I promise you I have never heard of that. So this has really opened up my eyes. What is the matter at hand is the violation of copyright law. Mr. Sample listened to Mrs. Brandon and made the time to go visit with Mrs. Lynn. He saw the pile of flash drives. He visited with Mrs. Lynn, the individual who made the copies. Mrs. Lynn admitted to not being aware of violating the copyright issues. So Mr. Sample has communicated in some sense. It seems like it's just to Mrs. Lynn. I reread, and never does it say that he spoke with any of the other teachers. My concern again are that the teachers are encourage such plan. They are veteran teachers. They should know if they've had any type of training. They should know that this is an infringement, copyright infringement. I'll continue with the matter at hand. Our board policy after I looked it up, did state copyright regulations and fair use rules for educators. Again, this is something completely new to me. This was, I needed to read this. It does state that that there is no fair use provision for computer software. The only copies of computer software that can be made under copyright laws are stated in number 1, backup copy for to just keep on file, and then number 2, copy that the machine makes when written memory or temporary files when executing the software. Again, with what is the matter at hand, no one has been physically harmed, but there's a concern with the staff's ethics. This is a serious matter that is being overlooked by veteran staff. There is no evidence that anything is being done besides Mr. Sample visiting with Miss Lynn. There is no evidence of anything else. That worries me. The severity of this matter is that illegal copies of copyrighted programs may not be made, installed, or used on district equipment. I keep reading this over and over again, so if it's something that's not new to us. Again, missing information. Case study did not share what action plan Mr. Sample took besides visiting with Mrs. Lynn. I have a real concern with that. Action plan I would take would be to call an all-staff meeting and share the copyright policy. Making copies of the computer software is too serious of a matter to not develop a plan of action. There was an article that we read. I can't think. It was stating I believe it was a $9.7 million lawsuit. That is huge. That is very huge. Action plan that I would take, I would collect all copied materials, flash drives immediately. I would call our school attorney and seek advisement. I would follow up with the school board. I would provide an all-staff training immediately. Express the severity of the matter, making it clear that legal or insurance protection of the district shall not be extended to the persons who violate the copyright laws. In other words, they're on their own. The school will not cover them. It's from what I'm understanding. In our faculty handbook, it states no copying of software, but it doesn't provide the liability information, which I will stress to go ahead and add that on. Number 5, visit with PTA president. Their intentions are great, wonderful, but going against, such a, to me, it's huge to break a copyright law. I would be fearful of how many people would find out about this and the overall message we're sending to the community. I would visit with the PTA president, express appreciation of their fundraisers and the overall intent for all students. The overall vision to become a more innovative and technology-based school district continues, but with the expectation that it is accomplished while making ethical decisions. After advisement from school attorney and recommendation to the school board, I would call the software company myself, inform them of what has taken place, but I would also share the plan of action, the training we have in place, and how we plan to correct the infringement. This is something that I know it's taken up the whole slide, but it was wonderful to find in one of the articles that we were assigned to read. It's a software policy. It's very detailed. I do plan to use this to present to our other administrators and see if they'd be interested in revising ours. Here's all the resources I used, or the references. Thank you. This is my second time to record this. I keep making it too long. Thank you.